This is a Pooh Shiesty channel now. I've discovered Temu.com. My God. Smells like asbestos. Sometimes YouTubers will do these lists and be like, I ran out of time, so I didn't get around to everything that I wanted to see. So lame, dude. You don't have to worry about that for me, though, because I've seen every movie. Every movie that came out in 2023, I saw it. Barbie, saw it. Oppenheimer, saw it. I guess that's really about it. What a wild year for cinema. Disney celebrated its 100th year anniversary by losing over $1 billion in box office revenue. The Marvel bubble has finally burst, and I hope the soapy residue of that bubble all over Kevin Feige's face finally forces Disney to actually consider their actions from this point forward. Only time will tell. Outside of Disney, things were pretty good. I had serious trouble putting these movies in any sort of order. I rated every single one of these 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Except for one. One I gave 3 stars, but it has somehow ended up higher on this list than several other better films. Which movie will that be, I wonder? Put your predictions in the comments! Just for fun, before we start, let's run through my 5 least favorite movies of the year.
I forgot to record. This would be my actual 5th least favorite movie of the year. Fair Play. Someone told me this is a spiritual successor to Marriage Story, which is appalling. It's like Dollar Store Marriage Story. This is like if Marriage Story took place at the Dollar King in like Gary, Indiana.
The Burial. This is a movie where Jamie Foxx stars opposite the corpse of Tommy Lee Jones. This is a dad movie. Your dad likes this movie, although he doesn't remember the name of it. Blue Beetle, which I spoke quite a bit about on the previous video on this channel. Renfield was a horribly generic and unfunny vampire movie starring Awkwafina and digital blood splatters. And the single worst film I saw all year was Ant-Man 3. Can you imagine making this movie the vehicle for your new big bad Thanos villain? I will honestly be forever grateful to this movie for finally snapping me out of my idiotic blind devotion to this franchise. I would go see pretty much every new Marvel thing that came out to remain abreast of the overarching plot lines, but no longer. I'm free. And lastly, before we get into the best movies of the year, I wanted to shout out my favorite comedy specials. Here's 6 through 10. Nick Mullen didn't have a special until this year, which sounds crazy until you remember that he hates stand-up and he's just this comedic genius that is not interested in doing this art form. Fascinating guy, one of the funniest dudes on the planet. This is Joe List's 3rd YouTube special, all filmed at the Comedy Cellar in New York, and it's my favorite of the 3. He's super loosey-goosey, having a great time. List is the best. This is Louis C.K.'s 3rd special post-cancellation, and it's my 2nd favorite of those 3, after Sincerely. I saw this material live in Austin, and it was even crazier to see him pull out a Bible on stage in person than it is watching this at home. Sam Talent is a guy that I've heard other comedians talk about for years, mostly because of his book. Oh! This book. He's a super well-read academic, kind of a Norm Macdonald type, and his command of the English language is insane. His word choice and ability to weave in and out of crowd work is unreal. If you only watch one special from this list, make it this one, because I want more people to know about this guy. He's amazing. Shane Gillis had the best special in 2021, and he's got the best special this year too. He is the hottest name in comedy right now, and for good reason. There's something so natural and unpretentious about his delivery. It really just feels like you're bullshitting with your much funnier and more insightful friend. He is infinitely more respected and well-known than he ever would have been at SNL. Honorable mentions. Talk to Me is the best horror movie of the year. It's super brutal. It's got incredible camera work, and it was made by YouTubers. It's awesome. Incredible ending, too. Check it out. Waco American Apocalypse. I find most true crime stuff, especially on Netflix, to be completely insufferable because the business model seems to be drip feed the viewer with 1 or 2 nice juicy plot details per episode to keep them watching for as long as possible, then stretch whatever material you do have out into like a 16 to 20 episode season. I can't stand that shit. I ain't got the time for it. Waco American Apocalypse. 3 episodes. You ever take an afternoon to scroll through the episodes of Making a Murderer? Stephen Avery can blow me. This bad boy covers one of the most interesting cult events in American history, and it is 3 episodes long. Come on. It gets to the point, stays in the pocket, and gets the fuck out. Dream Scenario is about the schlubbiest man of all time getting famous overnight. It has the single funniest scene in any movie I've seen all year. If you've seen it, you know the one. Nick Cage is incredible. I'm constantly reminded at how good of an actor he is when he actually cares about the material or is playing a character. He's really good. I mean, like he's had a bit of a renaissance lately, but dude, just stop picking so many projects. Like, how about only doing 4 movies a year? Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. This opened the week before Barbenheimer, and it financially suffered the consequences of that hubris, which is a bummer because it's really, really good. Most of them are really, really good. Napoleon. Yo, Napoleon's wacky as hell, so it doesn't get a lot of points for historical accuracy. Who cares about that nerd shit, bruh? Napoleon is a submissive queen. He's this massive conquering figure who led hundreds of thousands of men to their deaths, and when he gets home to wifey, he's asking for like uppies and nippy sippies. That's an interesting dynamic, and it also has the best looking battle scenes since Lord of the Rings. Ridley Scott is 86, and he's still doing it. You don't hear a lot of people talk about how this could be his last movie like a Scorsese, but that's probably because he's churning them out like hotcakes. He's made like 3 movies in the past 2 years, but they're good. I mean, I didn't see House of Gucci, but they're good. They're quality. A true legend. The Killer. David Fincher is the man, dude. Fuck. Such a precise and uncompromising filmmaker. I still might do a Fincher ranked video at some point on this channel. Get subscribed if you don't want to see that. Hit the fucking subscribe button if you don't want to hit the subscribe button or you'll miss it. This is middle-of-the-road Finch for me, but that's only due to the strength of his catalog. There's a lot of awesome things about this movie, but I just really loved seeing how a hitman would operate in 2023. You know, like, how do you kill people for a living when, you know, there's DNA evidence everywhere and there's cameras everywhere? Like, you have to be essentially a ghost, which is what Michael Fassbender is. This movie is about a killer who is extremely meticulous and has been very successful in this environment until one day he's not. All of Us Strangers. This is not your average romance movie. It's really dark. Paul Mescal stars. You liked After Sun? Well, how about Casper Sun? You Hurt My Feelings. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is an author married to Guy. Man. They have a pretty good relationship and one tall, skinny white son. One day she overhears her husband talking to his friend about how much he can't stand her new book that she's been trying desperately to get published. It's basically a 90-minute walk and talk about what happens to a relationship when an uncomfortable truth is unintentionally revealed. It's about trust, parenting, and where you draw the line when using white lies to appease your partner. It's awesome, and it's A24. That's an A24 moment. Inside. If you know me, you know that I love stuck-in-a-place movies. Willem Dafoe is a thief who is trying to steal some artwork from an uber-rich collector when the security system locks him inside. And it's just 2 hours of the Green Goblin trying everything possible to get out and then trying everything possible to survive. It's awesome.
Come the fuck out. This our homeland. We don't do nothing about it. Nobody will.
Chill. Just fucking chill.
My script, but I completely forgot to mention They Clone Tyrone, which is an excellent Netflix movie. Came out a couple months ago. Did you miss this one like I did? Because it was shat out onto Netflix the same day as Barbenheimer. The same day. Maybe the producers anticipated the flood of white people out of their homes and in the theaters that day, and we're hoping for some counter-programming for those who stayed at home, if you know what I mean. This movie has 2 of the strongest acts that I've seen in pretty much anything all year. The opening third, before any of the wacky sci-fi stuff happens, is some of the best day in the life of a drug dealer material that I've ever seen. It's crazy good, and the movie's not even really about that.
This is a space movie, and he has better apes than the ape movie.
And then when the sci-fi stuff does start to happen, it's a blast to untangle the mystery. Unbelievable first feature for Jewel Taylor. I cannot wait to see what this guy does next. His biggest credit before this was co-writing Space Jam 2. I mean, a gigantic leap in quality. Also, John Boyega kills this shit to the point where I didn't know it was him, and I didn't recognize him as Finn from Star Wars, the only other thing I've seen him in. I didn't even know it was John Boyega until he does, without spoiling anything, he does like a white guy voice at one point, and that was the moment when I was like, oh, is that fucking... And I looked it up, and I was like, that's John Boyega! So when he does his Finn white guy voice, he gives himself away, but he's unbelievable. Him and Oscar Isaac are both well-known actors that are doing great work, so now we only need Daisy Ridley to start taking some good projects to complete the trilogy. Might not happen, though. We might have another Rupert Grint situation. The movie does, unfortunately, have a semi-generic action movie ending, but it's so creative and cool in the first two acts that it gets a pass. The widest pass, dude. I'm hoping for a physical release. Like, there's no way they do a physical release. Netflix never does that shit. Seek this out if you missed it like I did. Clone a Toblerone and eat them while you watch.
This hit goes out to you, Mr. Wick.
42 regular, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so it begins.
The set pieces in this movie are simply insane. They're the best since Mad Max Fury Road. Any action movie would kill to have something the caliber of the Tokyo Hotel even, and that's like the fourth most interesting location in the movie. It seems like Chad Stahelski, the director, when presented with two different options for how to shoot a thing, always chooses the much more difficult option, and you only have that opportunity as a director if you're working with someone as insanely and absurdly dedicated as Keanu Reeves. Keanu and Tom Cruise are both 60 and they're still doing it, still giving a shit. Way more of a shit even than most other people in Hollywood. Come to think of it, why has Keanu not been a villain in a Mission Impossible movie yet? I want to see him do the John Wick accent. Yeah.
I spent a lifetime trying to right the wrongs of the past. As if fighting crime would bring my parents back. You actually did it.
Did you guess the one Harvey gave 3 stars to correctly? Put your answers in the comments. I made a video about my embarrassing love for this film called Battle of the Bastards. You should go watch that. I put way more effort into that than I did this. To summarize, the movie is ghastly, horrifically flawed, but it's got some juice, baby. It's playing with ideas that didn't leave my head for days after watching it, so much so that I felt inclined to spend a month on a video about it and its even shittier twin brother. Watch The Flash, and if you don't care about The Flash, then watch my video. And if you do care about The Flash, then watch my video.
You know, you got nice color skin. What color would you say that is?
My color.
This movie's so great. Scorsese continues his introspective run of films after legitimately one of the wildest, most consistent filmographies of all time. The dude has directed 26 features and 17 documentaries. He's made 14 more movies than years I've been alive. And apparently, almost all of them are good or great. It's legend shit. He's the king. Everyone has been praising Lily Gladstone for good reason. She's almost certainly going to walk away with an Oscar in March. But my favorite performance of the movie was Robert De Niro's. He is so good when Scorsese is directing him. He is so good in this and so good in The Irishman. The Pacino-De Niro debate has been settled in my opinion, but who cares? At the end of the day, they're both legends. Both legends that have earned the right to father children in their 80s.
We're in a race against the Nazis. And I know what it means if the Nazis have a bomb.
You've seen Oppenheimer. What I'm curious about is if you also spent 3 hours trying not to stare at the fleshy pads behind Cillian Murphy's ears. Those pads are too pronounced to pull Florence Pugh. I simply don't buy it. Surgical pad reduction preceding Pugh pussy.
Every year at Barton Academy, students, faculty, and staff depart the campus for a 2-week winter break. But there are always an unfortunate few who have nowhere to go for the holidays. They're known as the holdovers.
You guys remember Sideways, the goofy wine movie where he's like, I'm not drinking Merlot. Have you seen it recently? Sideways is about a morose, suicidal piece of shit and his equally amoral golden retriever best friend. It is super dark and super great. Election, which is in the Criterion Collection, also directed by Alexander Payne, is about a dour, dejected Ferris Bueller who hates himself and hates the fact that he low-key wants to plow one of his high school students. Payne finds dark characters interesting. He's committed to testing their ideals and seeing how they hold up to other characters' scrutiny. In The Holdovers, he's working with Giamatti for the first time since Sideways, and he's playing a similar character, or maybe what happens to that character if they find themselves content with the direction their life is heading. he is truly flawed, unlike his co-star Divine Joy Randolph, who, don't get me wrong, she was great. She's going home with the Oscar for sure. She deserves it. But anyway, she won a Golden Globe, and at the ceremony, her tit almost popped out, which has nothing to do with this, but I thought it was worth mentioning. But B, she said that her character was flawed.
To Alexander Payne, thank you for giving me the opportunity to portray this beautiful and flawed woman.
What is the flaw of your character exactly? Having a dead son? I think it's my third favorite Alexander Payne movie, but again, that's just due to the strength of his catalog. You can make the argument that it's not doing anything new, but it's so endearing and beautiful that it gets the pass. It's the coziest movie ever. You're allowed to have familiar elements to your script if your characters are great and they have great chemistry. I think I would give the Oscar to Giamatti over Cillian Murphy, but either one I'd be happy with.
How do you choose your roles?
I want to find a character that's difficult to, on the surface, understand. Were they born or were they made?
If you don't know anything about this movie, I would recommend skipping this section and going in totally blind, because the way that information is revealed is very intentional. If you want the hook of the film, here it is. Natalie Portman is an actress.
Portman is an actress? Didn't think we knew that, did you?
In the movie, she plays an actress.
Oh! I apologize for the interruption.
That's quite all right. Natalie Portman is an actress who has been hired to play Julianne Moore in a role. The reason that Julianne Moore is getting a movie made about her is because she cheated on her husband with a 13-year-old boy, which doesn't sound like much, just your typical file thing, were it not for the fact that while in prison for that crime, she gave birth to the kid's child. And then after getting out of prison, she continued the life with the child and had more kids with him. So essentially this kid, or this guy, this adult man now, has been married to his abuser for his entire life. Fascinating dynamic, super fucked up, and Natalie Portman is here to essentially try to get inside of her head. It's probably one of the best examples of Arrested Development that I've seen portrayed in any media. Charles Melton is just going through the motions of life, doing what he thinks you're supposed to while married to this narcissistic devil woman. It's fascinating. This is the story of Rudolf Haas, who was the longest-serving commandant at Auschwitz concentration camp. He and his family live in a nice little house that is literally sharing a wall with the camp. A lot of the movie is just this family going about their day, and in the background you just hear gunshots, screaming. I watched Adam from YMS's review on this movie, and he said that it's the least exploitive Holocaust movie he's ever seen, which I really like. In a genre that wants you to feel these atrocities on a deep, visceral level, this movie accomplishes that without showing hardly any on-screen violence. It's really an incredible feat. The movie presents these people not as inhuman monsters, but as people, which is what they were. They didn't see what they were doing as evil. It was just a big job for Dad. They have a dog. Just the fact that they have a fucking dog is so gross to me. Fucking, you got no idea. You got no idea, do you? This movie makes you see one of humankind's greatest atrocities through an entirely new lens. It also makes you question whether you yourself would recognize the system you're a part of as evil while you were in it. Or maybe you would just go about your day doing the same things you do all the time because it's normal to you. Dude, there's also a choice made about halfway through the movie that completely floored me, took me totally by surprise. If you have seen the movie, that's cinema, baby. That's pure cinema.
Who do you think you are? Really?
We are supposed to be the good guys.
We are.
Sony Animation Studios may currently resemble Abu Ghraib, but those slaves are putting out the product, boy. The amount of creativity and care put into the visuals is staggering. Apparently, the studio spent a calendar year just trying to figure out how to make one character work. There's a term that came from Who Framed Roger Rabbit called bumping the lamp. It originated because in the scene, a character comes in and bumps the lamp, and the light source is moving in a circle throughout the entirety of the scene. And it was totally unnecessary for the goal of the scene. It was just so the animators could flex their muscles and raise the bar. This movie is nothing but bumping lamps. They are fucking these lamps up. The two villains of the film are burned into my memory, mostly because of the two incredible voice performances from Oscar Isaac and Jason Schwartzman. The standout monologues from both characters are some of my favorite scenes all year. You're a mistake! I love this movie dearly. However, I think it has one major issue that is preventing it from being a modern animated masterpiece, and that would be the jokes. The comedy is really, really bad, way worse than in the first movie, and it never doesn't boggle my mind when studios have this much care and passion put into something and they don't, like, aren't there 100 million comedians in Los Angeles? Can't you just go into literally any chucklefuck comedy club, pick up the first breathing human you find there, and have them punch up your script for you? Like, it wouldn't even be expensive. These people are starving. They'd work for table scraps. It boggles my mind that you could have this level of quality in every other aspect of your film. And you just, I mean, it's just like they don't care. But it really does bring the movie down, unfortunately. With all that said, it's my second favorite movie of the year. You know, like it's incredible. I cannot wait until 2034 when Spider-Verse 3 and Avatar 3 both come out.
Tu m'as dit que t'avais entendu tes parents, maman, t'es sortie de la maison, c'est ça?
En fait, j'entendais pas vraiment les mots, j'avais que des bouts de voix, mais ça faisait...
Ah oui, mais non, enfin, si t'avais pas les mots, du coup, tu peux pas savoir si c'était une dispute ou pas.
Enfin, je sais ce que j'ai entendu.
So, as you know, the autopsy report is inconclusive about the cause of death.
Stop. I did not kill him.
That's not the point.
Let's go! Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Let's go. This won the grand prize at Cannes International Film Festival, which is the Parasite Pulp Fiction Award. The plot is this. What happens when the greatest child actor of all time and the greatest dog actor of all time both stumble upon the dead body of their father? The mom is the only person in the house at the time, so she becomes the lead suspect, and the entire film is essentially a did she do it or not. However, the movie plays with the tropes of a murder mystery so much that it sort of isn't even that when it gets to the end. It becomes something else entirely. Sandra Hüller stars in this and Zone of Interest. She had an awesome year, and she kills it. Or did she? The French legal system, by the way, is some of the wackiest shit. I was scrolling through Reddit after watching the movie, like, is this actually how it works? And people were like, yep, France is insane. My single favorite scene all year, I think it's up there with, like, the Hereditary dinner table scene in terms of just, like, fucking you with insane, crazy emotion. It's raw, baby. It's raw. My only issue is that every time I recommend this film, I have to say Anatomy of a Fall. Anatomy of a Fall. Anatomy of a Fall. Is that weird coming out of anyone else's mouth? Anatomy of a Fall. Anatomy of a Fall. So anyway, that's the worst part of having this as my number one pick. But I love it dearly. It's fantastic. Everything on this movie is fantastic. Like I said, everything but The Flash I gave 4 out of 5. No 5 stars this year, but I don't know if there were any last year either. Maybe there was. I don't remember. Anyway, this is fun. I'm going to start doing this annually, if I'm alive, in 2024. It's almost the end of January. Well, the Zone of Interest was impossible to find. I couldn't even find a cam rip, which I would have settled for. Oh, I don't know if you noticed, but I have a row of thematically relevant Blu-rays right here. Doesn't look very good on camera, but that's never stopped me before. Thanks for watching.